Okay.
Okay.
Good evening,
Good evening,
everyone.
everyone.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
SA
SA
Live,
Live,
hosted by
hosted by
Sourcing Other.
Sourcing.
Follow and use
Follow and use the
hashtag
hashtag
SA Live
SA
for your
Live for your
tweets,
tweets,
and also
and
feel
also
free to
feel
post
free
your
to post your
questions.
questions.
Our
Our
panelists will be
panelists will be
happy to answer
happy to
your
answer
questions
your
to the
questions
show.
to the show.
Well, we have a
Well, we
very
have a very
interesting
interesting
discussion
discussion
for today,
for today,
and
and
we have
we
a group
have
of
a group of
panelists
panelists
who will be
who
sharing
will
their
be sharing
insights.
their insights on the same.
We are living
We are living in 2050.
the scenario
The
of the
scenario of the
world is
recruitment
completely
world is completely
transforming.
transforming and transforming drastically.
Are
Are
recruiters
the
able to
recruiters
cope up
able to
with
cope up with it?
it? Considering the
Considering the
difficulty
difficulty
of
of
workload
workload
involving
involving
meeting deadlines,
meeting deadlines,
targets,
targets,
follow up with
follow up
candidates,
with candidates,
pressure from the
pressure
hiring
from the
manager,
hiring
pressure
manager,
from the
pressure from the
client,
client,
and also
and also
considering the most
considering the
important
most
thing,
important thing,
which is
which is
candidate
candidate
experience.
experience.
So,
So,
with too much of
with too much of
activities,
activities,
there is
there
a
is
dilemma.
a dilemma.
Who should
Who should
recruiters give
recruiters
priority
give
to?
priority to?
Is it the hiring
Is it the
manager
hiring manager
or the candidate?
or the candidates?
Often the
Often the
recruiters
recruiters
seem to be
seem to
sandwiched
be
between
sandwiched between
the hiring
the
managers
hiring managers
and the
and
candidates.
the candidates.
So,
So,
without further
without
ado,
further ado,
I'd like to
I'd like to
introduce
introduce
our
our
panelists.
panelists.
So we have
So we
Mani
have Mani
Kumar Pipalwa,
Kumar Pipalwa,
who's an
who's
assistant
an assistant
manager.
manager.
He has about
He
10
has
years of
about 10 years
experience
of
in recruitment, and
experience,
he's an active
and
member
he
of
is an
Sourcing
active member
Other.
of Sociata.
And we're excited
And we're
he's
excited
on our hangout
he's
today.
on our hangout today.
Manish, I'm sure you're excited to join us as well. Without
Manish, I'm
further
sure you're excited to join us as
give our guest
without further
introduction
ado,
about yourself.
give our guest an introduction about yourself.
Thanks, Jasmine, for the very interesting.
Thanks, Justin.
I believe I'm
Very
excited.
interesting. I believe I'm excited about
That feel that
that. Feel that
the self certain
the
uh,
certain
or the
business
and uh,
and
pull back on my I am working with emphasis in last 2 years and currently my role is the benefit manager. I this and my expertise is in sourcing recruitment and complete end to end. You have any question that I can then I'm happy. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Manish. Um, we have Yogesh Kumar, who's a service manager, sourcing and recruitment, and digital strategies, talent acquisition solutions at Aon. Well, Yogesh has been directly involved in leading and defining talent sourcing, social media, branding, and recruitment technology solutions. Yogesh, can you give our viewers a brief introduction about yourself? Yogesh? Yogesh, can you hear us? Hello? I I think Yogesh, we've lost Yogesh. I'm unable to hear him. Is Piyush here with us still? Okay, I think we've lost Piyush as well. Probably there seems to be some internet issue. Well, we'll just continue on. All right, so Manish,
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry. I've completely forgot to mention that we do not have Jashan with us today. Unfortunately, due to some unavoidable circumstances, he couldn't join us. So, Jashan, we've missed you this time, and I hope that you can join us next time. Yogesh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Now?
great. Oh, yeah, we can hear you. Great. So, we have Yogesh, and Yogesh, can you give our viewers a brief introduction about yourself? Um, I think we've lost them again. Well, we'll just carry on. All right. So, basically, there, like I mentioned earlier, things are changing in the recruitment world. Okay, I think we have Piyush joined us as well again. Piyush, hi Piyush, can you hear us?
I can, but a lot of disturbance.
Okay, Piyush, can you give our
Because,
viewers an introduction about yourself?
yeah, sure. Uh, Hello guys. My name is Piyush Raghuvanshi. I come up with around 7 years of experience in recruitment business partners role, and I've done almost all kind of recruiting and staffing assignments, including FT hiring, FTC hiring, project based for India and Asia. In fact, in Asia, I've covered almost all the major regions, which is Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, Thailand. Right now, currently, I work in the capacity of recruitment manager with Goldman Sachs, and I uh, take care of the contingent workforce management team across all divisions for GS. And I'm also part of, I also take care of executive and leadership hiring for the strats space.
Great. Thank you so much, Piyush. We're glad you're with us today. All right. Like I mentioned earlier, that things are changing in the recruitment world. All right. And we are hiring in an employee driven world and not an employer driven world anymore. So, in this scenario, who do you think is a recruiter's customer? Is it the hiring manager or the candidate? Piyush, would you like to start off?
Yeah. Uh, all right. So it's a for a recruiter, it's a good question because we always try to manage both sides, right? And we are the facilitator for both hiring manager as well as candidate. But see, to be since I've worked in a consulting space, which is the other side of the table, and now I'm working with corporates. So uh, to an extent, I would not say that more important or less important, but I see hiring manager is equally or a little on a higher side as a customer for a recruiter or a for in recruitment world, because that's where we get the sponsorship, that's where we get the opportunity to go and go out in the market and hire people and create opportunities for the skills or the talents available in the market. So I think we have to give a little extra points or brownie points to employer side or the hiring manager side, because they are the one who are creating opportunities and projects and bringing that opportunity in market so that we can reach out and get a right set of people, spot on talent for them.
All right. Manish, do you agree to what Piyush has just said, or do you have a different point of view? Do you think that the employer side should get the extra brownie points, like how Piyush said, since we get most of it from them?
No, see, from my point of view, see, like, first of all, like recruitment or HR, they completely suppose for the hiring manager. Okay. Now, see, it all depends upon on how you approach and uh, the kind of approach you require with the hiring manager. Okay. To give you examples, for example, you can see the hiring manager are the person who get the revenue for the business. Okay. They
Okay.
are running the entire business and they are generating revenue. And suppose they have to set up one recruitment team. Okay. And they will set some expectation with the recruitment team, the boss, that my requirement is XYZ. I want you to give 30 days. Get the response in 30 days and then the project on a timeline. Okay. Now the recruiters should have some kind of understanding that boss, these are the mandatory conditions that you have to and you have to fulfill those positions in 30 days only. Okay. Now he will take the downloads from the hiring manager, pass on, and he will start sourcing profiles accordingly. And he will forward the same information to the candidate whom he is sourcing. Okay. Now, depending upon the information which he has from the hiring manager, he will pass on the same to the candidate, and he will develop such kind of relationship with the candidate. Okay. See, in case the requirement is for 30 days, like we need to 30 days, and gets some profiles which are running in 90 days. Okay. It is completely replacing the gap from the start to end. Okay. So from my point of view, I believe hiring managers, the recruiters should really take a call of hiring managers. Okay, because we can get many candidates, but we can only get one hiring manager, right?
Right. All right. Thanks, Manish. Manish, I don't think we can hear you really clearly. So, can you just check your settings at your end? Yogesh, I think we have Yogesh joined us. So, Yogesh, can you
Yeah,
hear us?
yeah, I can hear you clearly. What about
Great.
me?
All right. So, Yogesh, I was just wondering if you could catch up with the question that we had asked Piyush and Manish earlier. Who do you think is the recruiter's customer? Is it the hiring manager or the candidate? And what are your views on this?
Okay, I think it's a great question, and to me, and the kind of experience I had in the last 8 years being into the recruitment industry, what I have learned is that in the first customer, so I take them as a first and a second customer, and that is depending on who you are meeting, when. So if I'm meeting with my hiring manager, he becomes my customer. The moment I turn to the candidate becomes my customer. The only thing which I at at what time you're meeting who. So both of them are the customers, but it, it, it's a mix of keeping both of your customer engaged and trying to make sure that the hiring manager is satisfied with all the requirements they have asked you to fill in. And as far as a candidate is concerned, but the
Okay.
moment you jump into the market and you talk to different people, so you get to hear a lot of different things.
Yogesh, you're coming in and
So
out.
it's a great question, and in terms of giving a favor to either candidate or to hiring manager would not be ideal. I think both are customers. It all goes with the situation and who you are meeting with.
Okay, thanks for that, Yogesh. Well, so like Yogesh mentioned, that both of them are customers. It's just upon whom you meet first. And Piyush says that the employers are more of a customer to us. Manish has got another point of view. Well, candidate experience is the latest buzzword. All right. Now, what is candidate experience, and how should we treat candidates, or recruiters treat candidates? All right. There are numerous benefits of treating a candidate like a customer. When it doesn't happen, sometimes necessarily there are no consequences. But one angry candidate is good enough for a negative feedback or a bad branding. What do you think about that, Piyush?
Yeah, I agree to that, Jasmine, because uh, candidate experience does matters, because the information, the experience goes hand to mouth, and it's a small world. We are connected, and nowadays, since we have a lot of access on social media, we see a lot
Right.
of feedbacks, pros and cons, and positive and negative inputs coming up, on Twitter, Facebook, Glassdoor, right? Because everyone have a free access and they have rights to give their inputs. It plays a real important role, a vital role, because that feedback goes through various channels, not just between the employer or the recruitment team or the candidate. It goes through the vendor partners, and other channels as well. What I always believe in, and what I make sure that I keep the end result secondary always, whether the candidate is going to join the firm or select or reject or not. But I make sure that we always create an impact in the experience, in the recruitment experience, or in the engagement of that particular candidate during the entire recruitment process, so that you know that makes our organization, my organization, as an employer of choice. So tomorrow, even if the candidate is not going to join us because of XYZ reasons, or it's absolutely rational, and the rationals are different always, right? And it's situational. But I make a point that the experience with that candidate during the interaction with us or during his um, uh, interaction with the managers or my firm, it should be good so that he or she always look up to, right? And that brings a lot of value add, and that's how that gives a lot of inputs or the results in other ways which we see as a referrals, which we see, I'm sure we have seen, and I'm sure Manish and Yogesh would have definitely come across with that situation that we are considering any candidate during the recruitment process, and we have managed them really well, we have engaged them really well, and we come across with a situation where even before the candidate has joined, if that person if the candidate is convinced and impressed with our with the kind of experience that he has got from us, he refers or she refers more people even before joining the firm, right?
Right.
So it does plays a very vital role uh, in the game of talent, in the war of talent in the current market right now.
All right. Yogesh, I have a question for you. Well, if you think that the recruiter meets his target, meets his number, does candidate experience really matter then?
Yeah, to me, and I, strongly agree with what I know the question, but I appreciate the way you have explained things, and precisely to answer this question, I think it's for an individual, it's very important that he's meeting his target and all the positions on time. It could be an individual, but if as a leader or as a team manager, I look at things from an organization perspective. I think it's very important for a recruiter actually get engaged with the candidate instead of only running behind on the targets. More engaged the candidates are, as we have seen things, we have seen, I have, more than recruiters in my team, and they are doing the primary focus is to actually engage candidates in thought-provoking conversation. That could be anything around the employee experience, uh, employer brand, let them know what all we have, and making sure that there's a transparent conversation between the candidate and the recruiter. And in order to answer your question, that is it fulfilled? I would say I think it is incomplete if you are not engaging with your candidates.
Well said.
Only
Well said.
putting up, only
All
putting
right.
up numbers is not actually the deal done.
Well said. All right. So, Manish, what would you like to add to this? Manish, can you hear us?
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Correct.
Yes. So, would you
Yeah.
like to?
So regarding candidate experience, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Correct. See, see, from my point of view, I can say that candidate experience doesn't start from, you can say, from
I cannot hear Manish
and
at all.
just a
Manish,
second. Okay.
can you just
Uh,
check the
Yeah,
audio at your end? You're coming in
sorry.
and out.
yeah. Even I can't hear.
Now, can you
Can
hear
you
me now?
can you guys hear him? Is it better now? Manish, can you try again? Can you try speaking? Okay, I think we've lost Manish. All right. So I agreed. I'm glad that all of us are on the same page. The candidate experience matters the most. All right. And like they say, a good experience travels fast, but a bad experience travels faster. And
Fast.
also, like Piyush,
Definitely.
right? Like Piyush mentioned earlier, that now that candidates have access to social media and everything is on social media, it's very it's very quick for a candidate to just go ahead and mention the experience with an employer, which would directly affect the employer branding. So Manish, yeah, I'm glad you joined us again. So would you like to add anything to that?
Uh, so what I was putting is the candidate experience doesn't start with posting the profile to the candidate come and join us. Okay. So it goes way beyond that. Okay.
I
What I
can't
mean
hear
to
him
say.
again.
So So, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So it goes to the time of, we call it as a qualifier. Okay. When candidate come and joins, and we count and assess the candidate experience for the first 120 days, whether settle down or whether what kind of the information that is given to regard to policy. Policies means suppose you of another expenses means particularly.
Okay,
There's a
Manish, I'm
time.
sorry, but you're coming in and out again. We're not able to hear you clearly. So can you just check the audio at your end again?
I also having the same issue because I'm either so
Manish, I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, only when you say, can
Hello.
you hear me now, is when we can hear you actually. So, I think when you're speaking in, we're losing you. So, can you just check the audio at your end and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Maybe you
So it,
can put the mic in, near to your face.
Okay, well, I think he'll just check his audio. Let's just continue. Probably he'll join us in a while. Well, while we're talking about candidate experience, there's this very interesting survey that I came across, and this survey was conducted by Talent Trends in apparently this year, so which is very relevant. They surveyed over 20,000 professionals in 29 countries. The reason I picked this survey is because those countries include India as well. All right. So I have few numbers, and apparently they were surprising to me. So I'm sure that most of our viewers also would find it surprising. So we have 94% of the candidates who want to hear feedback after an interview. They found that nearly every candidate wants to hear from the employer when they apply for a job, and if they get an interview and don't get a job, they still want to hear the feedback about why. All right. Okay, moving on. Only 41% of the candidates have actually received interview feedback. Yogesh, what would you like to say to that? I mean, are companies trying hard enough to go ahead and make sure that each candidate receives feedback, whether he is selected, he or she is selected or no?
Yeah, I agree. So,
Okay, I think we lost Yogesh.
Yeah, looks like.
Okay, Piyush, why don't you say what you
I
got to?
know. So I think let's wait if Yogesh can connect again. All right. So I remember I read about this survey, and I'm glad that you picked up this. I think
Nice.
Yogesh is back.
Okay.
Um, all right. So I'll tell you one thing, and it's a very interesting thing. It's very easy to give your inputs on survey when you're not directly in that situation. Trust me, I'm into HR function, and I've find out of that 95%, I have found only 5% who are actually comfortable and very straightforward, I would say, or they take the feedback in a constructive way. You know what? We
Okay.
always we always make a comment that no HR people or the recruitment guys are very diplomatic. The reason we are so diplomatic and we close the loop by saying this, okay, right now we do not have anything matching to your credentials and your fitment is not there, or so something sugar coated statement to close the loop, right? In fact, personally, I always make sure that in spite of the in fact, I added in my previous answer as well that irrespective of the end result of positive or negative, I'll make sure that I close the loop of any interview or the selection process. But uh, you know it's very it's a very difficult situation how the person is going to how that candidate is going to take that feedback, that yes, you were not meeting the criteria or the expectation or the bar that we were looking at, or your fitment was not there on my current role, and that's how you got rejected, right? It's very difficult to take the rejections, the accepting that no, yes, I'm not meeting the norms or the criteria what the firm or the organization is looking for. And that's why most of the HR or the recruiters, they always say that, what, right now we do not have anything matching to your credentials and we will come back to you, or something is not there which is not in line with what your current credentials are, and blah blah. So organizations are still, they always prefer to close the loop, so that
Mm-hmm.
and I can guarantee you none of the recruiters or anybody in the recruitment industry would like to get chased by the vendor partners or the candidates on the feedback, right? We do have a lot of stuff, and we move on very quickly, actually, okay, one down, go for next. Because that's our competition, right? I always treat it as a war of talent in the market, right? And I have to take the best one for my firm. So I always prefer to close the loop. In fact, my team always prefers to close the loop. They write an email that, right now we do not have, we will contact you or touch base you in near future. But I think we should do another survey that how positively or how constructively, or how you take the feedback, how constructively you take the feedback, when you get it from an employer, and how practically you work on that and come back, how many times. Sorry, I'm
That's
being
a
a little
nice
biased from the employer's point of view, but I have never seen any. And I've come across very rare cases. I can count on fingers where I've given the feedback and some of any of the candidate has worked on it in future and come back and say, okay, you know what, I've upgraded my knowledge on this, and I really appreciate your feedback that you gave. I'll work on it and I'll come back and I'll make sure that I'll apply again, right? So
right.
it's very easy to give the survey and your inputs, but how you're going to take that feedback is a question that we should put it across again.
Okay, so I'll come back to the constructive feedback, how a candidate's taking that. So I'm sure if you did go through the survey, Piyush, you would also see that, there is another stat as well on how the candidates, accept the feedback and how constructive they are. So I'll come back to that. But before that, Yogesh, can you hear us? Are you with us?
Yep, yep.
Great.
And I was speaking, I just happened I lost you guys. So were you able to hear my inputs on the question you asked me?
No, we weren't. We lost you. So yeah, can you go ahead and run us through again? What are your views on?
Yeah, I was just saying that, specifically in India and
Yogesh?
We
Okay,
missed it again.
right. Okay. I just hope Yogesh is not speaking at his end and then he'd have to repeat this again. So, Manish?
He is, I can see it. He is.
Okay. So
Can you hear
we'll
me?
we'll get back to Yogesh. Manish, yeah, is your audio fine now? Can you hear us?
Yeah, yeah. I can hear you.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes. So, did you hear what we were discussing about?
Correct. About
Yes. So, can you tell us what are your views on this?
my point of view is very clear that we are going to relevant profile. Okay. Now, see, in India, there's a trend that suppose we are posting one requirement for XYZ.
Manish, we can't hear you again.
Okay, Jasmine, can you hear me now?
Yeah, Manish, can you try speaking a little slower? Maybe that would help, and a little closer to the mic.
Fine, fine. Jasmine, see, my point of view is that to give feedback to relevant profile. Okay. Now, suppose, for example, we are posting job
Manish,
for.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you again. Piyush, can you hear him? I'm sorry, we can't hear you. I think there seems to be some problem again.
Can you hear me, Jasmine, now?
Yes, yes, better.
Okay. So, okay, my point of view is that, like, we need to give feedback only to relevant profile. Okay. Now, we are posting so many jobs online. Okay. And posting a job for XYZ scheme, getting profile for ABC school. And and see, for example, when we do weekend drive, okay, we use panelists to give feedback to all the candidates. Okay. That they do not wait after the exception, or they do follow up to vendors or to mails that was please update your feedback. So we are updating all our technical panels that at the end of the interview they should give feedback to the candidate on the spot. Okay.
Okay.
Now there are few misses that we are having, like post a job on the on a job portal. For one job we are getting around 10,000 profiles. Okay. So it is becoming very difficult for us to reply to each and to give feedback because it will take like a lot of time for us to invest into. Okay. And so here we are missing on that part, but so, but but we don't have any option for it. Okay, we have to do that.
Right. Okay. So I agree to Manish and Piyush what you guys have said, and great points. Like I understand. Manish brought up a very interesting point. Like if you post a job online, you would get probably 10,000 reply, and or CVs. You wouldn't be able to go ahead and address each and every candidate, but you try your best to go ahead and give your feedback on the spot. And yeah, Piyush, coming back to what we were discussing. So, about the survey says a candidate is 4 times more likely to consider a future opportunity with your company if you offer them a constructive feedback. Now, we also discuss about how much the candidates work on the feedback and then come back to us. So, Manish, can you tell us in your company, do you practice? I mean, do you practice that you can go ahead and cover as much as candidates or give them as much as feedback you can?
Yeah, so as I told you that we are following the practice of suppose then normally we do a telephonic interviews as well as you can say face-to-face interview. Okay. So we
Mm-hmm.
in our technical panels that at the end of the interview they should give the feedback like on the candidate just when the interview is done. If in case they want, they can inform the candidate that we will bring such a and will come with back by 24 hours. Okay, so we are following the practice, and it is really been helpful for us. Like so the candidate are not following up on a regular basis because earlier we had a issue. The candidate was sending price, but now it is completely stopped, and I think we are seeing a good in front of the candidate now.
Okay, fine, great. Piyush, yeah, can you add on more to this?
See, now what my input was not majorly on the transactional part of it.
Mm-hmm.
What I was saying is so I answered your question on the survey thing, and as I said, what we do here is that's one of the KPI of a recruiter here to close the loop of all rejected candidates. It
Okay,
also depends on the organization recruitment process and the tools they use, right? So
okay,
here if you so let's I'll give you a small example. The tool, the ATS, or the tool that we use here in recruitment for recruitment here, if you are rejecting a candidate, until unless you don't put a feedback in the comment column, it doesn't allow you to submit the this disposition of reject. Okay, so
mm-hmm.
that's how seriously we are taking on the candidate feedback and everything, because we strongly believe in that all these feedbacks, the rejecting the reject or select the candidates and everything, is all these things that we documentation we do is for our future reference. It's
Right,
not for current, right?
right,
So keeping the so I strongly believe in one more thing is like past behavior is future indication, and that's how recruitment works, because we all deal with people, right?
right.
So we take a reference of these feedbacks in future, so that for example, if somebody I'm not sure whether you are aware of or not, but Goldman as an organization is famous for taking interviews till death.
Wow.
just 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 on a lighter note, so we do a lot of interviews. It's like some 8 rounds, 10 rounds, globally, locally, and all that stuff, because we work in a very close uh, matrix and a global environment, right? So every feedback is captured on all the rounds. Whatever panel takes, the feedback is captured in the system, and we take a reference of that. And that's the reason we very rigorously follow. If somebody has dropped in the last rounds, or because of the cultural fitment or something like that, we recycle those cases, and we have a cool off of 6 months. And after 6 months we recycle those cases, because the kind of skills we hire is really niche, and it's very booming in market. When you talk about analytics, when you talk about strats, when you talk about big data and all this stuff, data center setup, or when it comes to typical investment banking skills, it's really rare. It's very niche, and that too, Bangalore being an IT hub, right? Hiring
Right.
people from finance background and strats background is really difficult. So we do a lot of recycling as well for these cases. So it is something that organization has to come up with fairly robust process and ideas. so that they capture the feedback in the system, and they give the similar feedback in a little more constructive way to the candidates so that they can work on it. And it also gives an impression, and it improves the candidate. It also adds a value in the candidate experience, because he or she gets to know that what are the areas they were lacking, and they can work on this and come back again,
Great. That's
provided
awesome.
that. Sorry.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so provided the how, as I said again, that how the candidate is keen to take the feedback, and seriously is going to work on it.
Right. Well, that's awesome. It's very interesting to know that Goldman Sachs do have a feedback mechanism like this. So I was just wondering, Manish, you did mention that you do provide on the spot feedback, but does Emphasis have a feedback mechanism like this? How do you quantify the feedback?
See, uh, like we do take care of the, because as the news stated that they are also recycling the profiles. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we are also taking the feedback for all the candidates, and those who are fitting like our requirement, we are giving them. Those who are not fitting our requirement, we also do keep in contact with them
Mm-hmm.
almost every month. Okay, and the few candidates come up, they come back to us with the on a positive note that the feedback uh, was like really great, and I have worked upon it. So now I want to apply in emphasis again. So will I am be eligible for it? Okay. Because see, the cool off time of 6 months, 3 months, like because if we don't like we don't really consider it. Suppose we are giving a feedback to them, of course you lack in X Y Z skills, so just prepare on these skills, and you again come back to me after 2 months. Okay, we will interview you again. Okay, and this happens like lots of times. Candidates are like coming back to us,
Right.
and they are applying to us again. That the boss, I have done some kind of studies on these skills, and I'm ready for interview now. If he crack the interview, good. If he doesn't crack, then again he come back after 3 months. So what we give the one or two chances. That's all that we can do. And this is for very rare skills, not for all like general skills like .NET Java. Okay.
Yeah. All of us here.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Yogesh.
Right.
I
Welcome
just
back,
joined back.
Yogesh.
I'm not too sure, what's going on, but I heard from one of my colleagues that the entire Gurgaon has some network issues.
Oh,
Sorry about that,
okay, that's
guys.
sad. All right, not an issue. Now we can hear you clearly. I just hope that you stay with us for the rest of the Hangout release.
Yeah.
Yogesh, we've been speaking about how to quantify feedback and do organizations actually have a feedback mechanism. So, can you let us know how do you practice it at Aon?
So, um, in terms of quantifying the feedback, so the feedback of the candidates or the feedback of the hiring manager.
Feedback of candidates.
Okay. So, yeah, in terms of so feedback of the candidate, so any candidate, be the person is joining or the people who are not able to join, and then we provide the feedback to.
I mean, how do you quantify it basically? If it's a candidate who's joining in or not joining in?
Yeah, so we definitely have a quick questionnaire in place wherein
Mm-hmm.
we actually there are a set of questions which we have. Maybe we have 10 categories. So it could be in time response, it could be communicating the role clearly to the candidate or not, and you know making sure that the recruiter is providing all the information about the organization, and also letting the candidate know that this would be your career planning and everything. So we have a mix of 10 to 12 questions, and based on that the candidate actually goes online and provide us with the with their scores.
All
So
right.
it's like the rating of between 10 to 1. The 10 is the best and the 1 is the least.
All right, fine. So I do understand that most of us over here, I mean, most of the companies do have a feedback mechanism in place, and that's great because then candidate experience is actually considered and taken seriously. Well, we've spoken enough about candidate and candidate experience now. Let's look at the other side of the coin. I'd like to think from a hiring manager's perspective. What are the expectations a hiring manager would have from a recruiter? Yogesh.
Yeah, I think there are few major things. So one is that the recruiter is able to engage well with them. That's the first expectation, and we always encourage our recruiters also to you know be in line with the hiring manager in terms of making good relationship. Second thing is in terms of delivery when it comes to providing with the number of candidates and the quality of candidates and the meeting the SLA. So hiring manager expects that how soon you can fill a role because that's a business need which come to us. So that's the priority, and they also expect that a recruiter should always have a healthy pipeline,
Healthy
right? It's
pipeline. Great.
yeah, that's really important because what happens is if you're maybe recruiter is very confident about a candidate, but the moment the hiring manager meets with the candidate, there are few things which the hiring manager may not like in the candidate, but and this is how it goes. So we really need, as a recruiter, we should always keep in mind that the hiring manager expects from us to provide them with the variety of candidate, mix of talent, and making sure that the requirements are in there in terms of the skill set they are looking for. I think the pipeline, SLA, meeting on time, and the mix of candidates is what the priority expectation I heard from my team, and I can share with you guys.
Great. Well, Manish, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, correct. So what Yogesh said, I think I totally agree to it. And second thing is that for hiring manager, the most important person for him to run his delivery are the only recruiters. Okay. So they are the person who can get the resource. They are the person who can earn them, help the revenue, and
Mm-hmm.
so the expectation for from the recruiter is much more. And what recruiter can do is or else what recruiter can have is first of all the hiring manager needs that the recruiters should be competent enough that they understand the complete requirement. Second thing is they can present a good hiring plan, okay, depending upon the current business and market situations. Okay. Third, the kind of commitment which the recruiter give to the hiring manager, because the hiring manager will in turn give the same commitment to his client. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Correct.
think the recruiter is giving some kind of commitment to the hiring manager is to have the accurate data in his place. Okay. So that the hiring manager will really keep a clear communication to his client that boss, we have got a mandate from our recruitment team. We will able to start the position in XYZ days. Okay, so it's not that the recruiters are not really caring about the hiring managers. So what we need to follow is whatever information that we are sharing out to the hiring manager, we should ensure that it should be completely backed by real-time data only. So that's what the hiring managers should has a very clear expectation for the recruiter. That's all.
All right. So Piyush, other than a healthy pipeline and a variety of candidates and accurate data, what else do you think does a hiring manager expect from a recruiter?
So, I mean, of course, great answers, great inputs by both Yogesh and Manish.
Right.
But you know what? When it comes to business, right? And I'm sure we just missed the most important part. We didn't miss, I guess. Maybe we are in this again in the same direction we are flowing with the recruiter, and recruitment. Trust me, the best thing about hiring managers looks at it. When they look at their people function or the human capital management, and is what the how we are gonna support them. I honestly believe in one thing, and that's the reason if you have noticed, I use the word recruitment business partnership, right? The one way to get success in as a recruiter or in recruitment is to build a strong relationship with the hiring manager. And you know
Agreed.
how you do that by demonstrating a knowledge of their business. You build that trust based on
Exactly.
if you demonstrate the knowledge of their business. That means you exactly know what your business is looking for, and accordingly you can map the talent from the market and bring it to them, right? all the healthy pipelines or building relationships and everything happens when the hiring manager look at you and get the inputs from you, which is actually relevant to their business, right? So, when you demonstrate the knowledge of their business, when you recommend a strategy built on data and the historical data points and which is more so because these business guys are mostly data driven. So when you recommend their strategies based on the data points and the market intel, that's where you build the interest with them. And the best part of it is when how you can involve them and partner with them is to you know sorry, yeah, please just give me a second, sorry. Yeah, sorry. And the one thing that you manage a relationship with them is how you empower them, involve them in the recruitment process and be a make them a lead and be a value add in the particular process. And that's where they feel that okay, I'm a value add in this hiring process, building my team along with the recruitment team, along with the human capital management team, and that makes successful both of us. One is the business because they have a team configured well for delivery and to of course serve or cater their end customers. And in fact, we meet our numbers or all the KPIs and KRAs as a recruiter or as a recruitment as a function.
Great, well said. Well, that was a really interesting discussion. To all our viewers who just joined us today, please log on to Twitter and follow hashtag SA Live. Post your questions. Our panelists would be more than happy to answer them by the end of the show. And well, moving on. All this being said, all that we've discussed about candidate and hiring manager and the balance that we need to strike between them, the recruiters usually are torn in between both. Do you think that most of the time the recruiters tend to be much more biased towards the hiring manager? Let's be honest with this one. Yogesh,
Yeah, yeah. Can you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
yeah, do you think that the recruiters tend to be more biased to the hiring manager?
Um, it looks like, but in it's not. It's not. It's not
Okay,
because and that's a feedback or an observation may come from a candidate's point of view, because for a recruiter, for a candidate, the recruiter and the hiring manager is one company, right? So that's where that feeling comes in the picture. However, it's really important to know that a candidate is equally important for a recruiter the way a hiring manager is, because I have seen, in our live sourcing, whatever we do every day in sourcing, that we happen to find candidates who are great fit for a few hiring managers, and for a few of them they are not. So what
right.
happens is we actually so our strategy is to try and make sure that you have a very healthy relationship between the hiring manager and the candidate. So it again becomes a recruiter's responsibility to avoid such kind of observation a candidate may take out from a conversation or from any kind of feedback. So I would slightly disagree to this, that it's like that, and it is very important for anybody. So I'm not too sure if we have any candidates in-house today in this live sourcing at the event we are doing. But a candidate is a recruiter, recruiter is a candidate as well
Right.
to to an extent. So yeah, I would say a no, a clear no from my side, that it's not real that a recruiter can be biased to a candidate. Yeah.
Okay. Manish, do you agree with
Yeah.
Yogesh?
See, I agree to some extent because see, we are not biased to anyone. Okay, we have been working under the policies of the company. Okay. Now, if I am, if I feel that I am biased to hiring manager, okay, but I'm biased to hiring manager for what reason? Because we have own salary grid, we have our own approval metrics over there, right? Okay. So it's not to talk about bias to him because it's, for example, the hiring manager cannot pay a salary of 10 lakhs if the candidate is expecting 10 lakhs. So, so in that situation, what can I do? I have the option of hiring alternative candidate only. Okay. So in such scenarios, like we have to drop the candidate, we have to take the call of the hiring manager only. Correct. So we are going as per the policies, as per the billing level, as per the budget guidelines, as per what the expertise that they have for hiring manager. So it's not about bias or something. It's completely, we are all driven by policies. We are all driven by what all things that we have for recruitment as well as for hiring. That's all.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Manish. Piyush, I'm very much interested to know your point of view.
Uh, all right. So, there are a lot of things which is covered by Yogesh and Manish, but the rationales are different for me here because I don't want to talk about a generic from my organization perspective, but I'm talking about overall because we have all three of us have spent enough time in recruitment fraternity. So uh, sometimes, to be honest, if I see a candidate is really great and he deserves that, I take a stand for it. Even sometimes which is if it is very much in my norms, there are, as I said, there are various rationales are there. I mean, when it comes to compensation or the fitment or the internal parity or whatnot, I take a stand sometimes when the candidate is really great and he or she is well deserved. But yes, uh, you know most of the time it goes to the hiring managers because it's not just the hiring managers. I look at it as my firm, right, as my
Right.
organization. So if that candidate is not fitting the ecosystem, when I say ecosystem is my organization fitment, sometimes I prefer to be biased with my organization, with my manager, with my business, and of course go for the next one. But yes, as I said, the rationals are different. When I see a candidate is of good value add in my firm and is bringing a lot of value on the table, I take a stand sometimes and push back to business and get things done because uh, that's where we as a recruitment function brings the value add. Right? We get right set of people in our organization, and most of the time we will have more visibility interacting with the leadership team and other team rather than a particular XYZ or hiring manager or that particular business manager. So that's how I take the calls on situations.
Thank you so much for that, Piyush. Well, Yogesh did mention that maintaining an healthy relationship between the candidate and the hiring manager is really important. So I'd like to know what is the impact of an unhealthy relationship either ways. Yogesh?
Yeah, yeah. I just lost you for last 10 seconds. Can you ask me the question again?
Yeah, sure. So, like you mentioned, that a healthy relationship is very much important between a candidate and a recruiter, and between a recruiter and a hiring manager. What is the impact of an unhealthy relationship between either ways? How does it affect the recruitment process?
I think it will affect it completely. Be it the delivery on time, be it meeting your targets, be it the engagement, be it the so I think it overall impacts everything as a process because as you asked me earlier that if a recruiter is meeting his targets but not able to engage with the candidate, what is important? So is the job done there? So maybe in terms of just hitting the numbers, fulfilling all the positions on time, no engagement, and there is no unhealthy relationship between the hiring manager and the candidate. Uh, it will be a very unhealthy practice to do, and as I told you, if and I think Piyush also mentioned about keeping a very healthy relationship with the hiring manager in terms of making them confident about you, that okay, these are the position and I'm sure that Piyush is the person who can actually fill these roles in a better way. He is strategic enough and all this stuff. So I think that transparency in a relationship with the hiring manager or the recruiter will be lost, and maybe you can fill a position today, tomorrow you will have to do the entire story again once again. So yeah, and it goes anywhere, be it recruitment or sourcing, be it branding, anything. I think it's very important that you make sure that the people you are delivering to, be it your stakeholder, be it your client, that is your hiring manager, or be it your recruiter, be it your candidate. I think it's really very important for you to make an impact, and that can only come with a healthy relationship.
Well, thanks for that, Yogesh. I agree to that. And Yogesh did speak about transparency and clarity. And also, if there is a communication gap, I think that also adds to a lot of confusion. Piyush, what would you like to say about this?
Yeah.
Would you like?
I'll just add my 2 cents in that because Yogesh has covered all of it. And you know what? I mean, your question has all the answers. You're talking about relationship, right? And you're talking about impact, and then you're adding a word unhealthy. So nothing is gonna work. So, so when we talk about relationship, and if it is unhealthy, the impact is obviously bad. It's not gonna work out. And when I see as a as a part of HCM, human capital management, or as a part of recruitment function, my job is to make things work. I work as a bridge for my hiring manager to give them right set of people to make things work for them to meet his deliverables. I work with a candidate, and give them a right opportunity so that they can scale up in their life and their career and make their professional career there, right? So, and the more important part that we have to keep it in mind here is we are dealing with people, both the sides. A hiring manager is also a human being, a person, and the candidate is also there. And we need to create a balance, and we need to strike a balance in that, right? So that relationship, if it is not strong, it is not good, it is not transparent. If if we are not communicating it well, it's not going to work out for us. So our business will fail, our candidate will fail, and if both are failed, we don't exist as a recruitment function, right? So that is the impact. It has a bigger impact in overall, because if the biggest investment in any organization is the people.
Right.
You make a lot of investment in infrastructure and money and everything, but ultimately all these works are managed by your people, your human capital, right? That's the
Absolutely.
reason we use a word human capital, because that's the real capital. We invest in people, right? And they make things work for us, and they take care of your customers, they take care of the deliverables. So of course there is a big impact, and which leads to a lot of, I would say, nothing is going to work out in that.
All right, thanks. Manish, would you like to add more points to what Piyush and Yogesh have just said?
I think like most of the things are covered, but just to add that in case the relationships are not better, then it's better to part the ways. Okay, so it's not that both the hiring managers and recruiters working in some companies don't have a proper relationship. See, the impact will be more on the business side. Second would be like the branding of the company. In case in case there is no good relationship between the hiring manager and the candidate, we are not able to maintain a balanced relationship, and there will be issues like like delayed feedback, the interviews are not happening on time, the candidates are dropping out, like offer declines. Okay, these all issues will come up. Okay, in the feedback from the business. So these all issues will come up, will in turn like impact the end delivery as well as the company revenue. Okay, so it is very essential for us to maintain a very good relationship the parties. But yes, while maintaining the relationship, we should also be very judgmental that the whom to be taking on a priority wise, depending upon the situation.
All right, Manish, we couldn't hear you very clear. We couldn't hear you very clearly, but we did get some of the points. So, we're coming to the end of the discussion. One just last question that I have for all of you all. Can you share a few live examples on strategies companies are adapting to build and enhance relationship between both the hiring manager and the candidates?
Let me start with what we did in emphasis.
Okay.
But we do and kind of quick and dry. Give one form to the candidate when he's coming inside the office. Okay. And while he like goes out, you have to fill the feedback form. Okay. The feedback form will like will cover his in time, his out time, and about the facilities which he have used. The feedback he will wait for that. Fourth would be like the first level discussion that it was good as per expectation. Second would be the feedback whether he has got any kind of feedback from technical person or like any suggestions. Okay, we are giving the form to the candidate. Candidate are filling those forms and they are handing over to us. We are reviewing this and we are discussing this input with our hiring manager so that we do some kind of improvements in our interviews or in our facilities or in our waiting time. Okay.
All right. Yogesh, can you share with us few of the strategies that you follow at Aeon or your previous company or you heard of from your colleagues or your friends that has actually enhanced the relationship between both the hiring manager and the candidates?
Yeah. So I would say, so I've been, speaking at a few places recently. I started doing that for in terms of sharing my knowledge and gaining mine as well, especially on the engagement part and the healthy relationship with the hiring manager. I think the first thing is setting the right expectation with the hiring manager is the most important part. Uh, I've seen recruiters uh, who are having a never say no to anything attitude, which is good because yeah, we agree. We can't really say no to a hiring manager, but sometimes I think you should always keep in mind that the moment you have said yes to your hiring manager, you need to deliver that
Right.
to avoid the unhealthy relationship. So I think it's so I can take a quick example. For example,
Okay, I think we've lost Yogesh.
no, it was just a call which came in. I'm back.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll just take a quick example of maybe a person is working with XYZ company, and the recruiter is hearing from the hiring manager that I need a person who worked with us in 2005, only in 2005, and we need that person from a specific area only, which could be 10 miles or maybe 10 kilometers away from our office. And the person should be an MBA, and he should have some technical knowledge around maybe a Java language. So it's a mix of everything. A hiring manager is expecting from you. The moment you say yes to it, it becomes a expectation. You're setting up the expectation, and this is where you know so what all I'm trying to say is that don't commit anything false to your hiring manager before doing your own research if you are not sure. Like, take your time. Maybe you can just say, okay, let me just explore the market, let me do some research, and I'll come back to you with an appropriate possibility for that requirement. So I think setting up the right expectation both ways is really important. That's just one part I would like to add.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that, Yogesh. Well, we've come to the end of this show and great insights from all of you all. Thank you, Piyush, Yogesh, and Manish for joining us today. So, to sum it all up, to strike the right balance between your candidate and your hiring manager, there are few points that were highlighted in today's discussions. One being setting the right expectations, both the sides, transparency and clarity, bridging the communication gap, trust, which is really important, and no false commitments. So if in case our viewers have any questions, please post it at SA Live, and you can also directly ask our panelists and they will answer your questions. So thank you all for joining us today. It was a great show, and we'll see you next time with another great topic. Bye
Sure.
guys, thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
Jasmine.
happy
Thank you.
sourcing.